Hey guys, and welcome to a brand new video. Today we have some new Pokemon Legends EA leaks to go over, all about Zygarde. We also have some new updates for Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet, and as well as that, some new Nintendo Switch 2 details have also dropped. There's a lot of things to break down today, so if you're excited for the video, drop a like down below, leave a comment, subscribe if you're brand new, and let's get into the video. So, starting things off before we move on to the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet updates, we have a new sneak peek event now live in Pokemon TCG Pocket. We've got Cerebi here tweeting out saying, Cerebi update, the Pokemon TCG Pocket sneak peek campaign has begun another run. During this, Wonder Picks will have a chance to show you a card before you pick, and this runs until the 10th of June 2025. It's quite a nice feature. Basically gives you an extra life when doing a Wonder Pick, so it goes from like a 1 in 5 to a 1 in 4 if obviously you don't select the card that you want with that first sneak peek kind of option. But anyway, wanted to quickly go over that. And then let's take a look at the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet update. So we did have a new trailer drop yesterday for the Nintendo Switch 2 version of Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet. We have Cerebi here tweeting out saying, Cerebi update, a trailer for Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet for Nintendo Switch 2 has been released on the Nintendo Today app. Basically just showcasing how it runs on the Switch 2, and it is just flawless, really. This is what Pokemon Scarlet and Violet should have looked like when it dropped on the Nintendo Switch 1. The thing is now, though, is that, yes, it's a free update, but to play Pokemon Scarlet and Violet how it should have originally been played, you then have to go and buy a new console. So, yeah, it's not a $10 enhancement update. It's a $500 upgrade if you're going to get the console to play this game, because obviously this isn't available on the Nintendo Switch 1. This also makes me feel like it was the Switch 1 hardware limitations as to why the game just didn't run very well. Like, it was never anything to do with Pokemon or Game Freak, it just the console was not good enough, because now the console is good enough. Look how good the game runs. So we'll quickly take a look at this trailer. You've probably seen it. We also have a new Scarlet and Violet update that went live today as well, but this is the trailer. So as you can see, 60 FPS, just runs absolutely flawlessly. There's so many more Pokemon as well. This is also going to be better for shiny hunting, because you're just going to have so many more Pokemon options popping up, so obviously more chances. I mean, look, this is the laggy lake with Veluza and everything like that. Look how many Pokemon there are, and look how flawlessly you just swim on it. It's just, this is how the game was supposed to run when it first came out, which is, you know, it's nice to see what it is like now, but it's a shame that you have to buy a new console to obviously play it like this. And I know not everyone's getting the Nintendo Switch 2. I'm looking forward to playing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet like this, but again, you shouldn't have to go out and buy a console just to be able to play this game in 60 FPS. But obviously, this game's in 60 FPS. Legends EA is going to be in 60 FPS. It looks like that's just going to be the situation going forward. So every Pokemon game, Generation 10, etc., all going to be as smooth as this and everything like that. But yeah, like I say, you've probably already seen the trailer, but it just looks a lot better, which is what we was expecting. You know, this is how it should have ran on the Switch 1, but obviously the Switch 1 just probably wasn't powerful enough to run the game, which is weird because it can run powerful games like Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, fine, but then it can't run Pokemon Scarlet Violet. So it's a really weird situation, but either way, it is now playable in its entirety, how it should have been on, obviously, the Nintendo Switch 2. So that's that. We also have the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet update patch that is now live as well. We've got Cerebi here tweeting out saying, Cerebi update, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet has received a new update patch on the Nintendo Switch. It brings the game up to version 4.0. And this is a little bit more information about it. The patch brings visual plus frame rate improvements on the Nintendo Switch 2 only. No performance boost on the OG Switch, just cross-version compatibility. So, yeah, you'll obviously have to update this Scarlet and Violet game on the Nintendo Switch 1, but it will make zero difference. It's just for compatibility reasons. And then obviously when you get it on the Switch 2, the update will be there ready. You download that, and then it's just going to run absolutely flawlessly. And then as well as that, we have this update to go for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. This was posted on Nintendo Soup, saying Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's file size is slightly larger on the Nintendo Switch 2, which again isn't crazy to assume because obviously the game's just going to be better. But the official product pages for Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet have been updated on the Nintendo eShop, revealing their file sizes on the Nintendo Switch 2. So according to the product pages for both games, you'll need 10.1 gigabytes of space to download the game on the Nintendo Switch 2. It's a small increase of 200 megabytes from the 9.9 gigabyte file size on the Nintendo Switch 1. Don't forget that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are getting day one patches on the Nintendo Switch 2 that will improve the game's performance, visuals, and stability. So that's basically all the Scarlet and Violet news. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it. Again, it's good that we're getting this free update patch, but you're still kind of paywalled behind the actual console itself. It's a shame that, like I say, you can't play Scarlet and Violet like it should have been on the Switch 1, but would love to hear what you guys have to think about it, what you guys have to say about it, all that jazz. But anyway, that's all of the Scarlet and Violet information for today. Moving on, we have some new Pokemon Legends EA leaks to go over from Ball Guy. These are story leaks, so skip this part of the video if you don't want those leaks. But if you do want the leaks, then obviously watch this part. But that's just your warning. If you don't want it, move on. If you do want to see these leaks, then now's the time to continue watching. But anyway, we have some story leaks here to go over from Ball Guy. So he posted this image here of Floette using Light of Rain, so Eternal Floette, taking over kind of like the Quasartico Lumiose Tower. So it's kind of Zygarde versus Lumiose Tower. And then we have the Lumiose Tower, you know, the Eternal Floette using Light of Ruin on the Zygarde. And then you got Zygarde here taking the damage. And then it says Floette is damaged by the recoil. So that's the image that Ball Guy uploaded. And then he posted a couple of more messages after that to kind of give some clarification on what that is. So this is seemingly the final battle of Pokemon Legends ZA. I know, crazy that it's all been leaked, but you know, it is what it is. Again, Ball Guy, I guess his credibility is pretty good. I mean, again, we'll have to wait for the next trailer to see if half the stuff we've said is correct, but as of right now, he is probably one of the most legitimate leakers we have in the community in regards to Pokemon Legends ZA and Generation 10, everything like that. But anyway, let's go over the kind of comments and stuff that he said. So the Lumiose Tower defeats Mega Zygarde with the help of Floette. So it's a giant 1v1. You're on ground forces fighting 2 Eternal Floettes. So you have the player character that obviously is going to team up with Zygarde at some point in the story. You are on the ground around this Quasartico Inc. building fighting these mini Eternal Floettes. So there's more than one. So maybe that's how we actually get Eternal Floette, because we know we get Eternal Floette in this game. It gets a Mega Evolution in this game. So we're on the ground fighting it. And then you got Zygarde fighting, which I assume is going to be Mega Zygarde, fighting this Eternal Floette sort of Quasartico Inc. tower, which sounds like a really cool final battle, by the way. I feel like that's going to be a really cool battle. I feel like it's going to be quite sad as well. I feel like something's going to happen, maybe to Eternal Floette, maybe to AZ, maybe like he sacrifices himself, something like that. But we have a giant 1v1. You're on the ground forces. You're on ground forces defeating 2 Eternal Floettes. And then we have 2 Eternal Floette, just 2 flowers. For better clarification, they are not Pokemon. There's only 1 Floette present, nothing more. Don't know what VP Anonymous were spurging about. So I don't know what that means. So it says, for better clarification, they aren't. So we're fighting things that aren't Pokemon. So maybe Eternal Floette is spawning these things in, or maybe they're just robots or something like that that are taking on the form of Eternal Floette. And we're fighting, no, there's only 1 Floette present, which is taking over this tower, I assume, in this Mega Evolution. Obviously, Eternal Floette isn't going to want to do that. It's clearly going to be controlled. Again, this Quasartico Inc. is making Pokemon Mega Evolve, is giving out these like rogue Mega Evolutions and stuff. It's clearly going to infect Eternal Floette. It fuses with the building. It fuses with the secret weapon, which is Ange. And then that is the building. And then we take it on with Zygarde. And then Zygarde obviously 1v1s it whilst we're on the ground defeating all like the mini things. And then he goes on to say it's Ange. So the 2 flowers are a piece of Ange during the boss state, yes. So Ange, if you're not sure what that is, it's kind of like the final boss. It's this secret ultimate weapon that seemingly is the Quasartico Inc. building and Eternal Floette. Don't know how that's going to work, obviously, but it will work. And the 2 flowers are a piece of that. So the kind of final boss just shoots out 2 like mini Eternal Floettes that aren't Pokemon, and then we have to fight those. And then what Ange exactly, or who? Name of the weapon. So yeah, Ange is the secret weapon, combination of Eternal Floette and the building. Zygarde fights it, and as I say, we fight like the mini thing. So that's kind of the final boss battle. Again, we don't know how like Vinny and people like that are gonna kind of like incorporate into the story. Like maybe they are behind it all, and maybe they are kind of creating these sort of like rogue mega evolutions. They seem very sinister in like the kind of key art and stuff that we got, so I would definitely expect them to be behind it, but maybe they lose control of it, whatever, and then it kind of all goes crazy or something. But it's gearing up to be a very good game. Like, don't get me wrong, we know pretty much everything about it now in regards to leaks. If it's all true, it might not even be true, who knows. Remember that this is an early build of the game that all these leaks are coming from, so they could easily change something. I kind of hope they don't, because this is a really cool final battle, like Eternal Floette getting possessed, fusing with this weapon, fighting Mega Zygarde, where they're fighting these mini Floettes, got all these rogue Mega evolutions in the background. It just sounds like there's loads of things. Like, I don't know where the rebuilding of the city is coming into this, because we literally have the ZA Battle Royale, we have the secret weapon that's clearly going to be like the main story. Like, where is rebuilding? Like, is rebuilding the city the part after this battle? Like, who knows? Because I assume the building's going to get destroyed or whatever. But either way, let me know your thoughts on that. Again, major story spoilers, potentially, if it is all obviously true. Sounds really good to me. I'm very excited about it. I think it's going to be a really cool final boss. I just feel like these Legends games just paving the way for really, really good. Like, they're darker themes. They're sadder. We do know the story is sad. You know, that has been leaked, so I assume that something's going to happen to an Eternal Floette, something's going to happen to AZ, something like that. Yeah, I think the waterworks are going to be coming, but anyway, let me know your thoughts on those leaks. Let's move on to the next part of the video. So next up, we have some new Nintendo Switch 2 updates and details to go over. This one is a little bit of a warning that you should not do when you get your Nintendo Switch 2 on Thursday or in the foreseeable future. We have Stealth here tweeting out saying, Nintendo safety warning about the Nintendo Switch 2. So this was posted on the IGN page saying, Nintendo warns Switch 2 owners not to peel off the screen's protective film. So ahead of the Switch 2's launch this week, Nintendo has confirmed that owners of the new console should not remove the protective film covering its screen. Nintendo has released health and safety information for the Nintendo Switch 2 as a downloadable PDF file, which includes a section on careful usage of the device. So among the guidelines is the following warning: the screen is covered with a film layer designed to prevent fragments scattering in the event of damage. Do not peel it off. In other words, the adhesive film is intended to make your Nintendo Switch 2 screen shatterproof. It's the worst if the worst should happen. Removing it risks the screen's glass spreading, as should it ever be splintered. So, what unwrapping your Switch 2 and unboxing it later this week, be careful not to unwrap the device a little too much. I mean, I get the kind of wanting to do this, because when you get like a new phone or something, there is always that protective film and you always just take it off because it just makes the kind of device looks so much shinier and stuff, looks a little bit better. But Nintendo being like, don't do this, because if the screen shatters and you've got the protective film on, it'll be alright because it won't spread. But if you don't have that film on, it will spread and the whole screen will eventually get shattered. So it's something that you apparently should not do. Again, it's up to you at the end of the day. It's your console, but this is just a warning. Other Switch tips provided by Nintendo include warnings not to use a Switch 2 in dusty or smoky areas, so no taking it out clubbing or to old bookshops. Make sure to change the built-in batteries at least once every 6 months. Nintendo also cautions if the batteries are not used for an extended period of time, it may become impossible to charge them. Well, here's hoping you'll be glued to Mario Kart World enough so this won't be a problem. And then it says, other warnings are more obvious. Do not expose devices to fire, microwaves, direct sunlight, higher... I mean, why would you put your Switch 2 in the microwave? I mean, it's just natural selection at that point. Nintendo says of how you should handle Switch 2 makes sense. After years of leaks, teasers, and reveals, Nintendo will finally launch the Switch 2 this Thursday, June the 5th, 2025. Last month, fans began recreating the first 2 Switch 2 deliveries, yada, yada, yada. So, yeah, don't take off the film. I mean, you can if you want, but it's advised not to do it. If the worst should happen, you don't want, you know, the screen to crack even more. But anyway, that's the Nintendo Switch 2 update. Finishing things off, we have a couple of more details to go over about the upcoming console. The first post is from Nintendo Soup, saying you can set when you want your Nintendo Switch 2 to run in 120 FPS and HDR. So following a leaked Nintendo Switch 2 unboxing 1 week ahead of the system's launch, screenshots of the system settings menu have leaked, revealing some setting options that Nintendo hasn't talked about yet. So first, it seems that you can decide whether you want the console to run in 120 FPS. There are only 2 options, enable and disable. A note below the setting also confirms that 120 FPS can only run in 1440p or 1080p, ruling out a 120 FPS support in 4K. Next, for compatible TVs, you can choose to either enable or disable auto low latency mode, ALLM. As for HDR, you can choose to enable it all the time, enable it for all compatible software, or disable it in TV mode. Whereas for handheld and tabletop mode, you can either enable or disable HDR on the console screen. Other than these settings, there doesn't seem to be any new settings, or it's mostly things that we've already known about, such as the ability to see the screen resolution, auto, 4K, 1440p, 1080p, 720p in TV mode. So that's one Nintendo Switch 2 update, and then the last thing that we're going to go over for today's video is another post from Nintendo Soup saying Nintendo Switch 2 has system music in the place you least expect. 2 home menu themes have also been confirmed. So this was posted on the 28th of May, so last week, saying a couple more details have emerged following a leaked unboxing of the Nintendo Switch 2 system by a Russian Telegram group. So according to the person who unboxed the system, there is system music playing in the background when you set up your Nintendo Switch 2 for the first time. For comparison, the Nintendo Switch did not have background themes for the setup process. So it basically just gives you like that elevator music whilst you're setting up your console. Unfortunately, this seems to be the only part of the operating system that has background music at this time, as the leaker has confirmed that the home menu doesn't have background music. Next, the leaker has also confirmed that the system supports 2 themes out of the box, being Basic Light and Basic Dark. There are the same themes supported on the Nintendo Switch. Finally, we've also learned that the firmware of the Nintendo Switch 2 is 19.0.0, which is lower than the 20.1.0 firmware update that just came out on the Nintendo Switch. This is probably the reason why so many features are not working on the console until the 20.1.0 update comes out on June the 5th for the Nintendo Switch 2. So that's all of the kind of leaks, updates regarding the Nintendo Switch 2, Legends EA, Scarlet and Violet, everything like that. It's also going to be the end of today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please do consider leaving a like. Let's try and hit 500 likes. It does really help out the video, the channel, all that good stuff. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on everything, all the Nintendo Switch 2 stuff. 2 days away, man. I mean, it's so close. I cannot wait. And then, of course, let me know your thoughts about the new Legends ZA story leaks. And then, of course, what are your thoughts on all the Scarlet and Violet stuff as well? That's everything from me, though. Thank you for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Subscribe if you're brand new. Ring the notification bell for daily Pokemon content. And until next time, peace.